Get him! Come on! Here we go.
All right.
Just playing some ball. Working on my game. Yeah, we heard it all.
Welcome.
So a shadow. It was 12.3.
Kyle's still in the song.
Told them why not. I got some time, but when I beat you real bad, try not to cry.
Welcome to the Get Buckets podcast, sponsored
34% of
by
the LA Lakers.
sponsored
Who I
by
can
Aaron
say-
Carter's Too Good to Be True
Like him
album.
out.
Go download it on Napster today.
Game, the whistle blows. Such a close as the story goes. Like, boom. I put it in the hoop like slam. I heard the crowd screaming, I'll jam. I swear that I'm telling you the facts. Because that's how I beat Shaq.
That's better than anything I could have said.
Here I come. I'm back.
You're coming. Welcome. You're here, man.
Let's go. That's like
Okay. If you haven't done your due diligence, like the podcast on Facebook, because we're going viral. Give us a year or so. It'll
not
happen.
this week. Because what we just did was against the law. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah, don't tell anyone.
Except all your friends that aren't in law enforcement.
Hey, guess what? What, Nathan? No? Not going to guess?
I thought you guessed for yourself. Sorry.
Oh, well, I figured you would say something.
Okay. What, Nathan?
We're approaching our 1 year anniversary of the podcast. Did you know that?
I had no idea.
Yeah,
It probably had something to do with the 3 months that I took off in the middle of it.
Yeah, but we're dangerously close. Like, we're getting there. We're going to have to do something really special.
We're going to have a party.
We're going to have a party on the podcast, and we may only listen to Aaron Carter.
And we may invite all of you.
Oh, you're all invited.
Always.
We should
but
have like a
call-in show.
I don't know about that, but do we really want to show how non-popular this is?
Well, I'd like to talk to Blake,
Okay.
Joey, and Nolan.
Nolan will be joining us soon, but we don't know why yet.
Can't spoil it.
Yeah. But yeah, that's coming up in like 2 weeks. Can you believe we've been doing this for a whole year?
Well, we haven't been. We just started a year ago, and we do it every once in a while.
That's what I mean.
No, I can't.
And can you believe that after 1 year, we're still as popular as we are?
I am just amazed at the dedication and loyalty that the fans have shown us.
Oh, I know. Like, there's a few of them out there that are diehards.
We should make shirts.
It's actually not the worst idea you've ever had.
It's probably the second best behind leading off the podcast with Aaron Carter.
We may make a shirt. In fact, as of right now, you hear that click? That is my pen. I am writing it down.
You hear this click? It's my pen. I'm matching Harvey, but I'm not writing anything. Clicked it off.
So, yeah, be on the lookout for the Get Buckets podcast shirt. I know nobody will buy one, but I might because it's kind of cool. It might just have a picture of Jimmer on it.
I was thinking we could like put the Get Buckets with like the logo with headphones around it, like on like the sides of it or its ears.
See, also for the 1 year anniversary, I'll call it the anniversary, even though as you pointed out, we've been doing it less than that. But I was thinking logo change. I'll have to think of something.
I don't know. Maybe you can just steal the logo off my Final Four shirt.
Yeah, why don't you tell the people about that? That's a great segue.
People, I got invited to the Final Four this weekend, and Nathan did not. He was actually in Waco visiting me, and I had to cut his trip short by going to Houston and watching the games.
But I was the center of controversy.
He was. I almost didn't get invited because Nathan was here. Actually, I didn't get invited because Nathan was here, and then I got invited anyways.
And I still didn't get to go. I got screwed.
You survived.
Yeah, I watched it on TV. Looked fun.
It was fun. I represented the Prison City Crabs at the game, so I guess that's all that really matters at this point is that someone repped them well.
Yeah. How many compliments did you get on your shirt?
Like 4 actually.
4. Wow, that's awesome. Speaking of the Prison City Crabs, soccer game Thursday, 10 o'clock at night. Don't come. It'll be quick. It'll be painful and quick. And then softball playoff game Sunday at 8. You are all required to come. So,
Did I hear you say softball? Because ZZZ has its first softball game tomorrow. We're kicking off the season in which we're trying to three-peat as the intramural softball champions here in Waco, Texas. And we're going to do it.
I anticipate a three-peat. I would expect nothing less.
As it should be. We are the superb athletes here on Baylor's campus. Me and Perry Jones, we're the best we've got.
Well, it could just be just you.
That's a good point. Here we go.
All right. Well, there's a game tonight. So by the time everyone hears this, it'll be over. But we can at least mention it. UConn and Butler for the title game. To keep this short, I'll just ask you who you like and why.
I like Butler because I think that Ronald Norred can slow down Kemba Walker just a little bit, not much, but he'll slow him down a little bit. And Butler has a way of keeping games close and coming out on top at the end. And I think they're going to make up for their loss in the championship game last year against Duke with a win tonight over UConn.
Did you see the stat that Butler has more wins in the tournament in the last 2 years than teams like Texas A&M and Oregon State have in their entire school history?
I did not see that stat, but that is a very impressive stat.
See, I didn't think Texas A&M would fall into that category, but apparently they've won less than 13 games.
Right. They've done a interesting job. They like to win about one game every tournament, but then lose their next game. They never really get deep, but up until this year, they had won a game in the tournament like 5 years in a row.
And Butler has 13 in the last 2 years. Like, that's... Or something similar to that. Or maybe it's 3 years. I don't know. But...
It would be 3 years.
Yeah, I think it was 3. Still, it's still impressive that Brad Stevens is like, 34? And he's going to back-to-back Final Fours with... I mean, not that this team doesn't have talent, but with teams like this, like...
I'm gonna make two quick notes. One, there's been reports that Shaka Smart will be staying at VCU.
Mm-hmm.
The second one's less of a note, more of a question. Do you think Brad Stevens will be at Butler after this year?
Do I? I don't know.
I think he's going to be there.
Okay,
because
why?
you cannot. What job opening can you name that is better than what he has right now? There's your answer. You can't name one.
North Carolina State.
It is better monetarily, but it's a very hard job because you're recruiting between Duke, North Carolina, Wake Forest when they're good. It's the worst high-paying job in America, in my opinion. I think that Brad Stevens can wait a little while and wait for an elite job opening to come open. Maybe not elite, but something better than Carolina State.
Speaking of coaching hires, did you see who Missouri hired?
I did, and
It's kind of surprising to me, just because, it's who, Miami's coach? Like,
he's something like 25 games under 500 in conference play.
I'm just kind of curious as to how, like, when you're making a list of candidates that you want, like, how someone like that even ends up on your list.
I'm excited for their hire, only because they'll be playing Baylor twice a year now, and I don't think he's that good of a coach. And I see Missouri basketball dropping off significantly over the next few years.
I would have to agree. I just don't want it to. They're exciting. They finally, because basketball was dead when Mike Anderson got there. And then he made it what it is now, which is fairly impressive. And then now it looks like it's just going to go back to where it was. Okay, let's go.
We're really scatterbrained on this podcast today.
That's because we don't have much to talk about, and so we're trying.
And because Aaron Carter let us off.
That's still in my head.
As it should be. It's a great song.
Nah. Okay, we'll talk about some NBA stuff. Just, I mean, really, we're done with podcast of important things. But there is a lot of debate about who should be the MVP in the NBA, so we can at least throw around our 2 cents. First off, before we go into like the candidates, who would you vote for? You would
Dwight
vote Dwight
Howard.
Howard? Okay.
I would.
I really don't care. I could see all of 3 people getting it, and any of them I'd be totally fine with. I mean, Derrick Rose is probably Stan Van Gundy said a few weeks ago, like, the media's already given it to him, which I think is actually very true. Like, he's been anointed as the MVP for some time now. But, I mean, LeBron's still there. He won't win it. And then Dwight Howard's just having a great year. And so let's dive deeper into each of those. Can you make an argument for what, obviously you can, but what is your argument for Derrick Rose being the MVP?
What is my argument for Derrick Rose being the MVP?
Why would someone that has never watched basketball, why should they believe Derrick Rose is the MVP?
Hang on. I'm going to put on a different shirt because I'm sweating, but we'll keep talking about it. I mean, my case for him being the MVP would be he's a point guard that looks really, really good on the court, so he's fun to watch. And on top of that, he's kind of put that team on his back through stretches of the season. I mean, he's not my MVP.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't have a huge case for him other than the fact that he kind of carried that team through a stretch when they didn't have Noah and they didn't have Boozer. And now that they have him, they're clicking and they're in first place in the East.
Yeah.
Which I guess is a great reason in itself that he's got them in first place.
Averaging 25 points, 8 assists. He's only 22 years old. I mean, he can't take his own SAT, but the kid is a freaking stud. And I'm kind of baffled that he's only 22. And you see him do some of the things he does. He's electric on the court. Just, if you watch the games, he doesn't get a lot of foul calls because he avoids just about any contact just by manipulating his body. And I think that's frustrating to him because he is getting fouled on these plays, but no one's ever seen someone kind of contort their body like this in the air. He's a freak athlete, and I don't necessarily agree or disagree he should be the MVP, but I would think that in all likelihood he's going to win it.
I agree with you. I think he's definitely, he is the front runner. The media has essentially given it to him, and I think he'll come out. And he deserves it, but in my opinion, there's people more valuable than he is.
Like Dwight Howard?
Yes, I see Dwight Howard. John Hollinger, a guy for ESPN, wrote an article. You could take probably up to 4 players in the NBA right now and slide them in Derrick Rose's spot on this Chicago team, and they would win just about the same amount of games. You could take Chris Paul, Deron Williams, Russell Westbrook. That might be it. Maybe Rajon Rondo. And they would win about the same amount of games. Dwight Howard, if you take him off of the Magic basketball team, they are a 6, 7, or 8 seed in the East. He does it all for them defensively. He is surrounded by average to below average defensive players, and he makes up for that. He's shooting almost 60% from the field. He grabs 14 rebounds per game. He is more valuable than Derrick Rose.
Take a look at some of those names that he's playing defense with. Like you said, I don't even think they're average. They're horrendous defensive players.
JJ Redick is, and it's sad to say because he used to not play any defense, but he's one of their better defenders now. Yeah. He's making up for Hedo Turkoglu, Gilbert Arenas. The list goes on. It's their entire roster that he is making up for.
Yeah, and he has them as at like the top of the league in defense. As like, what are they, top 3 in defense? Top
Yeah,
something like
they
that?
are. They're top 3. I think they're 3rd overall.
I mean, that's just nuts with some of the names you have on there, like you were saying with Turkoglu, who's, I mean, a horrendous defender. Gilbert Arenas has never ever had a concept of defense. And it all funnels into Dwight Howard, who is the staple of the league's 3rd best defense with the names we reeled off. That's unheard of. Like,
it's almost like Dwight Howard himself is the league's 3rd best defense.
yeah, it's not a bad way to look at it. I mean, that makes a strong case, and obviously Hollinger has stats and everything to go with it, and I could see him winning it. I mean, I could vote for him, but he probably won't win it, like you said, because Derrick Rose is been anointed. But
and
yeah.
part of that, in my opinion, is it's even Derrick Rose's missed shots are amazing.
Kind of like Blake Griffin's missed dunks.
Absolutely. So Derrick Rose gets into the lane, jumps between 3 defenders, never gets touched, spins the ball off the backboard, and it rims out. Well, that's going to look a lot better than Dwight Howard getting the ball in the post and turning to the middle and shooting a hook shot, and it going in.
Right. Yeah.
And that's part of I think that's part of why the media adores him and loves him.
I agree. Then we have LeBron James, who, despite going to play with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh, his stats didn't really drop. Still averaging 26 points, 7 assists, 7 rebounds. But it's almost like that we've gotten used to him doing this now. I mean, he's in a different place, and technically his stats should have probably gone down because he's having to share the ball more to other stars, but they didn't. And so I think he's being kind of punished because he's won the past 2, and so we've seen him do this before, and so we're not as impressed, and so he's not as valuable as, say, Dwight Howard or Derrick Rose is now.
And I'm not sure that he is as valuable as either of those guys, just because he is surrounded by Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. And I think it's going to be really hard for LeBron to win an MVP in Miami just because people are going to look and say, oh, they've got D-Wade. Oh, they've got Chris Bosh. And I don't know if that's fair. It's not for me to decide. But he's a really, really, really good basketball player. And I'm not totally convinced that Miami is necessarily better off spending their money on LeBron this year. I think that they could have signed a couple of other players to complement Bosh and Wade, and the team would have fared similarly because there wouldn't have been the chemistry issues. In the future, however, I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with.
Sorry. I don't really have anything to say about that, so we'll just continue.
You just completely disagree
No,
with
I
me?
don't. I just don't know if I don't know what to say. I don't agree or
Yeah.
disagree. I just don't. I don't have anything to add.
Do you kind of see where I was coming from
Yeah,
in that?
I was gonna earlier in the year, I would have made a case to trade Bosh because I don't know. I felt like Wade and LeBron played well together, but that was when Bosh was being a little girl and not doing anything. He's actually played better now,
Well,
and so I could see you trading either LeBron and Dwayne Wade and getting more pieces. I just don't.
Yeah, just because it's so hard for the two of them because they're so ball dominant that it's hard to have two guys that ball dominant both playing on the perimeter along with a post that needs to get his touches. I just feel like a better recipe for success would be a ball dominant guard, a freakishly talented post player, and better role players. But they're going to work out the chemistry before it's all said and done, and they're going to be really tough to beat.
Moving on to the playoffs, one note, it's looking more and more likely like our playoff fields are set. I know Rockets fans are going to be disappointed to hear that, but, I mean, let's be realistic. With 5 games to play, you got to make up 3, That's tough and close to impossible. So we're just gonna move on. It's been a great year. If we do win out, that's 20-5 after the All-Star break, which hang your hat on that. But we're gonna move to some real playoff teams that could possibly make some noise, and maybe we're not expecting to. I put Oklahoma City on here, although I don't know if they can be considered a dark horse. But they're not in the top 3 right now, so I put them on here because I think with what they did at the All-Star or the trade deadline, I think that they could really make things interesting in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. They've got a big man to compete with really whoever they're going to go play now in Kendrick Perkins. They've got a little depth with Muhammad back there too. But more than these teams being dark horses, I almost see like a team like the Spurs completely limping into the playoffs makes these teams even more likely to pull off a first round upset.
We'd never talked about this, but I didn't like the Spurs, I guess, from the beginning.
That's really easy to say no.
How did I know you were going to say something like that?
Because it is, and you know it.
But they're not that good. They've never been like. I look at the Spurs, and even when they were winning like everything, like I look at them like, what scares me? Like nothing. Nothing about that team is remotely scary. They just win a bunch of close games. The majority of the games they play are close, and now they're finally losing because they're hurt. But I mean, the Rockets aren't a great team, and Rockets play them to 3-point games every time. They're not a great team. Nobody on that team scares me. I don't think they have a real like someone to give the ball to that can just absolutely like strike fear in the other team.
I agree with that, and they're not the only team, in my opinion, that's even limping into the playoffs. Out of the top 3 seeds, the Lakers are really the only team right now that you're kind of like they're playing very well. The Mavericks, I think they ended up getting crushed last night. And, I mean, the Lakers, I guess they lost on yesterday, too, to the Nuggets, who are looking great for the trade they got, getting rid of Melo and what they got back. They're a scary team in the playoffs, I feel like.
I don't know how they're doing it, but they're doing it.
And I don't know if it can continue in the playoffs because a lot of times in the playoffs, it's you need a star to go to in the end of the game situation, but they don't really have that guy necessarily. They seem to be more of a 5 guys that get it done together, and I'm interested to see how that plays out come playoff.
Isn't their matchup right now the Oklahoma City Thunder?
It is. That's a scary matchup.
Ooh, man. That could be a great series. Or it could be a horrible series. I mean, I really don't know.
I mean, all of the series right now in the West, if the teams in the bottom half come out and play well, and the teams in the top half struggle a little bit, every single one of those series could be an upset.
Yeah. Well,
if I had to put up my money on one team to advance past the first round, it would be the Lakers.
Oh, I would agree with that. Definitely.
But I think right now they're slated as going to Portland,
which is tough.
And which the Lakers haven't always fared well there.
I'll tell you a team I'm not picking, Hornets.
Yeah, there's no reason to pick them, really. It's the Chris Paul show now, and he can't win a playoff series by himself.
But if they play the Mavs? Is that possible? Can they do that?
I think it is.
If they play the Mavs, that creates some problems. Because Jason Kidd cannot guard Chris Paul. But, I mean, then again, who can, really? It's really not saying much.
Yeah, but some people can slow him down some. Jason Kidd is just so old now, and he still does a magnificent job on the offensive side of the court. But when he plays a Chris Paul or a Darren Williams or a Rajon Rondo or a Derrick Rose, he just looks silly.
Yeah. It's going to be exciting. It's
Guess-
going to be very exciting.
Guess that means we'll see a lot of JJ Barea.
Which I kind of find funny because I don't think he's that good.
I hate JJ Barea.
You all got a lot of Mavs fans up there too, don't you?
Yeah, we have a ton of Mavs
Does
fans
that
up
thing have a
here.
vibrate?
No, actually, it doesn't. It's broken. Thanks for rubbing it in my face. I went to the Final Four, and I have a Jimmer t-shirt.
Are you just reeling off all the things I don't have? Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, that was fun.
Follow me on Twitter at GBKcraw.
Yeah, you can do that if you want to. You can also...
Like us on
Yeah,
Facebook.
you should already do that. But you can do it again. And then, if your roommate has their Facebook open, just go over and click it. Click like.
Or if you're walking through the library one day and there's a bunch of people on Facebook, just say you need their computer real quick and do that.
It's all about numbers. We just need the appearance that we have 50.
Right. We don't actually need people to listen to this. We just need people to like it.
Because once we get to 50, well, then you know what's up. Something's going to happen.
Something big. Something huge.
If we get to 50, are we done? Like, is that like our signing off moment? Like we do a farewell tour, like maybe a few more weeks?
I don't know. I don't. If we get to 50, I believe we can get to 100.
Whoa. That's ambitious. 100?
I'm just saying.
My goal, like, by the end of the summer is not even to have 100 Facebook friends. So how are we going to do that?
We're going to have a bunch of people we don't even know listening to us.
See, that's not bad. Then we'd have to drop all our funny jokes that only certain people understand, though.
We really don't make that many of them.
I think you'd be surprised how many references we make to people that we know.
Like Luke Walton?
No. Who you almost went a whole podcast without mentioning. That was...
Don't worry, I had it the whole time.
That was close. Join us next week when we'll talk about something. And we may talk about baseball next week.
There's really no reason not to.
We'll talk about some baseball next week where we have a better idea who's really struggling out of the gates, Astros, and who's really hot out of the gates, Rangers. So we'll talk more about that next week. But it's gonna be rough sledding from here out because I guess we do have the playoffs starting in the NBA, so that'll be nice.
Yeah, and then we'll be fine. We'll be okay. Because then people are going to start having declared for the NBA draft.
Well, when's the NBA draft? June 14th? Okay.
Yes. Right. I think that's right.
Well, yeah, so we'll figure something out. And when in doubt, we'll just come and we'll chat with y'all for 15 minutes and we'll let you go. Kind of like a cool teacher or professor.
Kind of like Aaron Carter.
Yeah, and we're going to give you some Aaron Carter on the way out too, so you're not lonely. And be sure to go download that CD from Napster, Too Good to Be True, in stores right now. So get it.
In Napster right now.
It might not actually be in stores. In fact, it's probably not in stores.
It's probably in Hastings.
I love Hastings.
That's probably where you would find it if you want the hard copy.
So if you find one, let us know. But until next week.
If you find a copy of this CD, take a picture of you holding it, put it on the Get Buckets page, and I'll give you some sort of prize.
Now you're thinking. So go over the ground rules again. How to get a prize.
You find Aaron Carter's CD, Too Good to Be True. Or is it in on Aaron's party? Can we be wrong this whole time? I'm going to fact check this because I can't have people going on the wrong mission for me.
It was also on his Too Good to Be True CD. That's what it says, and Aaron's party.
Okay. Then here's what I'm going to say. I want you to find his Too Good to Be True CD. and on your computer's webcam, or if you don't have a webcam, you can take a picture and upload it in any other form. Put a picture of you holding the CD on the Get Buckets Facebook page, and I will award you with some form of jersey. I don't know which one I'm going to give you, but it will be worth your time.
What if they do with the Aaron's Party CD? Does that count?
I will count it, but you won't get a jersey. You will get something else instead.
All right, so y'all heard him. Find that CD and upload it to Facebook, and you might win something. You might not. Who knows?
You're going to win something if you're the first person to do it.
So get on that, everyone.
As the story goes, it's like boom. I put it in the hoop like slam. I heard the crowd screaming out jam. I swear that I'm telling you the facts.
That's how I beat Shaq.
Beat Shaq. Boom. I put it in the hoop like slam. I heard the crowd screaming out jam. I swear that I'm telling you the facts.
'Cause that's how I beat Shaq.
Good stuff. Good stuff.